interesting news in the F1, well, news, is that it seems that another ex-Red Bull employee has left the team to go and join, well, another team. First we had Dan Fallows leave Red Bull to go over to Aston Martin, and now Rob Marshall is heading over to McLaren. Yeah, alright, that's just 2 people, but you know what the internet can be like, over-exaggerating for clicks. None of that here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, alright, maybe a little. But at least I'm aware I'm doing it. Marshall, for want of a better phrase, is one of the Red Bull OGs. He's been around since the early days of the team. He's also one of the brains behind Renault's mass dampers, which helped Alonso to the 2005 and 2006 World Championships before joining Red Bull for the 2007 season. So, wasn't there at the beginning, but around the beginning. So he's been there through the Sebastian Vettel years and through to the newer Verstappen years, however long those will be. So on the face of it, it seems that Marshall knows what it's like to take a team that's sort of there or thereabout and then turn them into one of the top teams on the grid. Take Renault as an example. They were there or thereabouts in 2003 or 2004 and then became the world champions in 2005 and 2006. He then leaves to join Red Bull and after a few years there, wins the Constructors' Championship in 2010, 11, 12 and 13. And also the 4 drivers' titles to boot. Obviously, he wasn't driving the car, although that would be fun if they made the designers actually race. I mean, Newey would still win because he's... Actually, Newey, he's a decent driver. And the comments online have been very reminiscent of that Jeremy Clarkson line of, isn't this like moving from Manchester United to West Ham? Only this is more like... how's the best way to put this? Moving from Manchester City to Tottenham Hotspur. Moving from the team that's got Guardiola and Haaland, so Newey and Verstappen, to moving to the perennial underachievers that have a driver that's pretty decent. In this case, Lando Norris being Harry Kane. That's not a good analogy, is it? Now, some of the comments online have been quite interesting to read, most of them basically saying, who wakes up in the morning and says, yeah, I'm sick of winning, I'm going to go to a team that's not winning. Some people just love a challenge. A certain Michael Schumacher left a Benetton team that had just done a driver's double and had just won the Constructors' Championship in 1995 to join a Ferrari team that hadn't won a driver's title since 1979. They hadn't won a Constructors' title since 1982 and had spent the vast part of the late 80s and into the 90s being left in the dust of the likes of Williams and McLaren. In 1999, Ferrari finally got its Constructors' title. In 2000, it did the 5 in a row thing. Well, it started the 5 in a row thing. A run that has since been topped by Mercedes. In the case of Schumacher, and I guess later Hamilton as well when he moved to Merc, the Motorsport Press said that both of them were crazy for moving. They both reaped some pretty hefty rewards afterwards. So that's the well thought out answer to that particular question that was posed by an online commentist that didn't really need answering, and now for the joke answer. There's a cost cap and Red Bull needs to save a little bit of cash because we all know what happened last time. So they're dumping a guy who cost them too much money and then going to replace him with someone younger and cheaper. And that's probably one of the many upsides to 7 of the 10 teams having bases in the UK. Marshall is moving his office from Milton Keynes to Woking. If he has to move house, then that's not too much of a big deal. The wife and kids, I mean, assuming he's got a wife and kids, aren't going to be too inconvenienced with a move, if that's the operative term to use. Much less so than moving to, say, Switzerland or to Italy. Now similarly, James Vowles recently moved from Mercedes to Williams, and with all the teams bar McLaren along with other industry leaders in this so-called motorsport valley between Birmingham and Reading, he's not really got that far to go. But McLaren seems happy with its new signing. Andrea Stella told Autosport, "We are a team with the ambition of fighting for championships, but over the last couple of seasons we have not shown a steady upward trend from an on-track competitiveness point of view. Over the last few months, we have worked towards inverting this trend. The approach we have adopted is comprehensive and is based on strengthening the team from a people and expertise point of view, along with the ongoing projects to upgrade technology and infrastructure that will shortly come to fruition." And McLaren is getting on with things. The new wind tunnel and other bits and pieces, having an ex-Red Bull guy in the design department should help with that. I mean, emphasis on should. Because while I'm sure there's a lot of McLaren fans out there that long for the days of Senna and Prost to come back, or Hakkinen and Coulthard and so on, there's a lot of Lando fans who want Lando at the top. This isn't a magic bullet. The first being, Marshall won't be starting right away. That's because Marshall is on what is called gardening leave, a term that is, well, it's pretty British, isn't it? When people move between high-sitting jobs in the same industry, like engineering or aviation, or basically any kind of industry where there's a lot of fierce competition between two companies, it is perfectly normal for employees to be paid full up to sit around at home for extended periods of time, in the sort of transitional period between them moving between the two jobs. So Marshall will probably be paid by Red Bull until the end of the year, and then he'll be able to then go to McLaren. It's to stop the secrets of one company ending up in the hands of the other, and making them sit at home and do nothing other than have limited phone calls and visits to the actual office or factory or wherever is the best way of doing that. While it would be against the rules for Marshall to take actual Red Bull designs and blueprints to Woking, any of the ideas in his brain are fair game, because you can't police ideas. It's a case of, I can tell you, but I can't show you. What it means in theory is, when that person moves to the new company, that new company hasn't moved forward or gained any kind of competitive advantage or financial advantage, or at least a advantage on an intellectual property level. I'm just making stuff up now, but I hope you get the idea. It's called gardening leave because that's what you do to pass the time. It's also become another word for suspended pending investigation, although that's not what's happened to Marshall. Now, Adri and Newey was on gardening leave throughout 1997 and could only give pointers to the development of the 1997 McLaren car. So Newey could be sat at home doing nothing but tending to his rhubarb plants, and he'll get a phone call saying, "Hey Adrian, car's doing this through the corners, got any ideas what we can do? Oh yeah, try XYZ and see if the airflow is doing ABC," or something like that. Yeah, look, I'd love to help you out, but I can't actually see the actual front wing, so I don't know what it's doing. Some online have been setting mid-2024 as when results will start trickling in on the regular if everything gets pulled off. Top fives, podiums, maybe, who knows. But really the expectation should be turned down and be around 2025, mid-2025, before any results, if any, come through. Rebuilds in Formula 1 take time. They're going to take longer because of cost caps, meaning that teams can't just throw money at issues anymore, and the team all needs to work together to get the most out of it. Some will have seen what's happened over at Aston Martin with their ex-Red Bull employee arriving and seeing their turnaround and probably thinking, maybe McLaren could do that too. McLaren has already hired David Sanchez from Ferrari and Mariano Alperin from Aston Martin, but McLaren now needs Marshall to drop in, get the team working, and then build from there. Get everybody in and sort of go, and probably 2025 is kind of going to be the time that you see those results because of having to go through 2024 first, where Marshall hasn't had an input on that particular car. While some want Lando at the front and McLaren back to winning ways, yeah, you're probably going to have to wait until 2025 to get what you want. But it's another piece in McLaren and Zak Brown's big push to turn things around. We've seen Aston Martin get serious about getting to the front of the grid, ditching Mercedes for Honda power in 2026, and if McLaren can do the same, then the more the merrier up at the front. If they can pull it off. And if anyone can catch Red Bull. So then, opinions on the move of one of Red Bull's top guys to the struggling McLaren team. If this has given you and food for some thoughts, then do like the video, and for more stuff like this, get subscribed with the bell on so you never miss out on a future video. Massive thanks as ever to the Patreon people. If you want to help out with keeping things moving around here, then there's a link in the description along with links to Discord, socials, and other bits and pieces. Or the super thanks if you just want to buy me a coffee. So until next time, I've been AdmiralLaWind. Have a great day wherever you are, and goodbye.